Hello, my name is Suzanne Reeves. I'm an education specialist with the Child Nutrition School Program section. Welcome to the annual webinar for verification. Verification is a task that must be completed each year. This can make it hard to remember what to do and where to begin, especially for new directors or districts who do not process many applications. Hopefully this webinar will answer many of your questions. Today we will discuss ways to ensure accuracy of eligibility through the verification process and completing and submitting the verification report via the online application. First, we will cover verification guidance. This guidance is found in the most updated version of the eligibility manual for school meals, which is from 2017. Please save it to your desktop to make it readily accessible and easy to search when the verification process starts. The manual provides detailed information on the federal requirements, policies, and procedures for establishing eligibility in child nutrition programs. All SFAs participating in NSLP must submit the verification report. This includes charter schools, CEP districts, residential child care institutions or RCCIs, and public and private schools. Details of the verification report, which is due from all districts by November 15th, will be discussed. This slide shows the important dates involved with the verification process. October 1st is when it begins. It's a good idea to add a calendar alert for yourself. The reminder will help keep the process on track. On October 1st, open the verification report and complete sections 4 and 5. There will be more discussion about section 4 in the upcoming slides. Before starting the verification process, make sure the POS software has the correct parameters set and the accurate number of applications based on the number in section 5.5 of the verification report is being verified. On October 1st, begin the verification report via the link online application. Log into the ALSDE's link CNP online application, select application, select verification report, select modify for program year 25-26, and the verification report page will open. Complete sections 4 and 5. Item 5.5 will automatically generate. This will be the number of applications that must be verified, no more, no less. By November 15th, the verification process must be complete. If verification will not be completed by November 15th, the SFA must request an extension in writing from the state agency. The extension can be granted up to December 15th. On December 15th, the verification process must be completed for SFAs who received an extension. Take note that if any of these dates fall on a weekend, please use the next operating day to begin the process or complete a submission. So what is verification? Verification is confirming eligibility for free and reduced price school meals based on applications. It is not required for eligibility through direct certification. It is required annually by the USDA Reauthorization Act of 2004. In Section 6 of the Eligibility Manual, there's an overview of the verification requirements for the school meals programs. The LEA cannot begin the verification process until after the determination of eligibility has been made on a free and reduced application. The verification process must include confirmation of information on applications, including income eligibility, receipt of assistance under SNAP, FDPIR, or TANF by the child or any member of the household, or other sources of categorical eligibility. Examples of other sources could be foster, migrant, runaway, or homeless children, and children enrolled in Head Start. Verification may also include confirmation of any other information required on the application, such as household size. According to 7 CFR 245.6a C2, verification efforts are not required for children certified under direct certification procedures, including migrant, runaway, homeless, foster, and Head Start children. For children in RCCIs, accept applications for non-residential students attending the institution. In schools with non-pricing programs which claim only the paid rate of reimbursement, where all children are served with no separate charge for food service and no special cash assistance is claimed. In SFAs where schools participate in CEP or Provision 2, except in the base years of Provision 1, 2, or 3 schools in which applications are taken for all children in attendance. However, the verification report is required for RCCIs and districts participating in CEP and Provision 2 for ALSDE to collect specific data for USDA reporting. Verification is not required in schools participating only in the special meal program. In schools with non-pricing programs such as CEP and Provision 1, 2, or 3, but all SFAs are still required to complete and submit the verification report. Let's review a few key terms that are important to the verification process. Direct verification is completed by using records from public agencies to verify a child's eligibility for free and reduced price benefits. Error-prone refers to applications within $100 per month of the applicable IEGs. Random sampling is a sampling process where each application has an equal chance of being selected. A statistical valid random sample is not required. The LEA must determine a selection interval by dividing the number of applications by the required sample size. The sampling pool is the total number of applications approved as of October 1st. Sample size is the number of applications subject to verification. The minimum and maximum sample size is 3% of the total, or 3,000 applications, whichever is less. An email will be sent to SFAs that qualify for the alternate sample size. Now we're going to cover verification for cause applications. The SFA has an obligation to verify all questionable applications as for cause. Any verification that is conducted for cause is in addition to the sample size required. Again, verification for cause applications are not included in the sample size required for the verification process. Verification of for cause applications can begin anytime, but must be included on your summary report. It is often helpful to follow up on for cause applications as soon as they are submitted. Make sure to follow the formal verification process that includes sending a letter with a timeline on these for cause applications. If you plan to wait until October 1st to begin verification, set a calendar alert for October 1st. Begin the verification report via the online application, and we'll go over again how to access the verification report later in the presentation. Complete sections 4 and 5. Item 5.5 will automatically generate. This is the number of applications that must be verified, no more and no less. To obtain the sample size of applications, you will need to access the verification section of your POS software. If you do not have POS software, you will need to manually calculate the number of applications for verification. There are 3 sample sizes: standard, alternate 1, and alternate 2. These are labeled as basic, alternate random, and alternate focused in the Link Online application. The standard sample size equals the lesser of 3% of all error-prone applications, or 3,000 error-prone applications approved by October 1st. SFAs not selected to conduct an alternate sample method will check BASIC in the verification report, question 5.3, type of verification process used. For the alternate 1 or alternate random sample size, the sample size equals the lesser of 3% of all applications or 3,000 applications approved by the SFA as of October 1st, selected at random. Alternate 2 or alternate focused, the sample size equals the lesser of the sum of either 1% of all applications or 1,000 of all applications approved by the SFA as of October 1st, selected from error-prone applications, plus the lesser of 500 applications or 0.5% of applications approved by the SFA as of October 1st, providing case numbers in lieu of income. Make a note that SFAs must qualify and be on the list to use the alternate sample size, which will be included in this webinar email. When calculating the sample size, all fractions or decimals are rounded upward to the nearest whole number. The SFA may not have enough applications meeting the criterion for the sample size based on the error-prone applications. If this happens, the SFA must select additional approved applications using a random sampling to complete the required sample size. Lowered non-response rate is when any SFA may use an alternate sample size for any school year when its non-response rate for the preceding school year was less than 20%. Improved non-response rate. Any SFA with more than 20,000 children approved by application as eligible as of October 1st of the school year may use an alternate sample size for any school year when its non-response rate for the preceding school year was at least 10% below the non-response rate for the second preceding school year. Again, SFAs qualifying to conduct the alternate sample size will be emailed the recorded verification webinar and PowerPoint to keep for reference when beginning the verification process. The National School Lunch Act states that verification must be based on a school's sample size as of October 1st each school year. However, if you would like to go ahead and start verification early, Memo SP 42-2017 states that FNS regulations allow SFAs to begin verification once they begin the application process for the current school year. Starting the verification process early may ease the administrative burden of the verification process by distributing these responsibilities over a longer period. Conducting verification on a rolling weekly basis can help alleviate a possible rush of processing documents and follow-up communication. Early verification can also improve the response rate and help the SFA to qualify for alternate sample. The USDA Toolkit links are listed here and are great resources, examples, and timelines to help the SFA to start verification before October 1st. If an SFA decides to utilize the USDA redesigned verification notification letter, be sure to update the NDS or use the ALSDE pre-approved verification notification letter with the correct NDS. We have the We Must Check Your Application and We Have Checked Your Application templates on our website. You can access those by going to the Alabama Achieves website, Families and Students, Child Nutrition Programs, then use the left toolbar to select School Nutrition Programs and scroll down to Free and Reduced Forms. First, determine your sample size. If the SFA is on the alternate sample list, it might verify 1.5% instead of 3%, depending on the sampling method chosen. If you want to begin verifying early, the SFA decides how often it plans to sample applications and should then stick to the plan. If you plan it out and file applications according to the plan, it should not be difficult to complete. The example timeline here is for sampling 2 times. For instance, the SFA started accepting and processing applications on July 1st, and it pulled a sample on September 1st and sent out the notice to household. Then on October 1st, the SFA will need to calculate the sample based on total number of applications received to date and sample the remaining amount. If using the SFA's POS for this number, make sure it is consistent with the verification report. After entering the application information in the verification report, Section 5-5 will indicate the number of applications which must be verified. Do not verify more than the number in Section 5-5. This is an example of a timeline for conducting verification every 2 weeks. Each time applications are sampled, be sure to select only from applications approved since the last sample selection. The sample should include only the appropriate type of applications depending on the type of sampling method used. On or around October 1st, complete all 3 of these steps. 1. Sample the final set of applications, selecting only from the applications approved since the last sampling. 2. Calculate the number of applications selected for verification to date, including the October sample. 3. Calculate 3% or 3,000, or if applicable, 1.5% of all applications approved as of October 1st, rounding up to the next whole number. If the number of applications selected for verification to date is less than the 3% or 3,000 or 1.5%, 1,500 number, fill the remainder of the sample by selecting randomly from error-prone, categorically eligible, or all applications approved since the beginning of the school year as required for the sampling method. If there are not enough applications of the required type, then sample randomly from all applications. Prior to any other verification activity, a determining official must review each approved application selected for verification to ensure the initial determination was accurate. Any SFA conducting a confirmation review of all applications at the time of certification is not required to conduct confirmation reviews prior to verification. The confirmation review must be done by an individual other than the individual who made the initial eligibility determination. After completing the confirmation reviews, the SFA may, on a case-by-case basis, replace up to 5% of applications selected. Applications may be replaced when the SFA believes the household would be unable to satisfactorily respond to the verification request. When an application is selected for verification and it is determined the student is on the direct certification list, the application does not have to be replaced in the verification sample pool. Mark the application as a direct certification. These applications will be included in field 5-5 on the verification report, number of applications selected for verification. An example of this is students listed on a free income-based application converted to DC between the first and last operating day of October. If you are using the USDA prototype notification letter, it should look like the one on the slide. We must check your application is the heading on the letter. You can access these by going to Alabama Achieves, Families and Students, Child Nutrition Programs, then use the left toolbar to select School Nutrition Programs and scroll down to the Free and Reduced forms. The form is included in this year's household letters. The items required to be included in the household notification of selection letter are as follows: an indication the household was selected for verification, a modified use of information statement as seen on the slide concerning verification, the full current USDA non-discrimination statement, a listing of the acceptable documents that may be provided to confirm current income, including pay stubs, award letters from assistance agencies for benefits such as Social Security or SSI, and support payment decrees from courts. The letter must also contain statements concerning proof of categorical eligibility, a warning about failure to provide information, and a notice about when documentation can be provided. Don't forget to include the name of a determining official who can answer questions and assist households, a telephone number the households can call. Please make sure the statements on the previous two slides and contact information are on your notification letters. Any communications with households concerning verification must be in an understandable and uniform format and, to the maximum extent possible, in a language that parents and guardians can understand. SFAs are expected to have a system in place to provide written verification notices in the parent or guardian's primary language and to provide oral assistance if the parent or guardian has difficulty understanding the written request. A household selected for verification must provide sources of information to the SFA to confirm current income or participation in a categorically eligible program such as written evidence, collateral contacts, and a system or agency of records. Households which dispute the validity of information acquired through collateral contacts or a system of records must be given the opportunity to provide other documentation. Written evidence is the primary source of eligibility confirmation for all households. It most often includes pay stubs from employers, award letters from assistance agencies, or other government agencies. If written evidence is insufficient to confirm the income information on the application, the SFA may require use of collateral contacts. The verifying official should request a collateral contact only in cases when the household has not been able to provide adequate written evidence. A person outside of the household who is knowledgeable about the household's circumstances and can confirm a household's income level, participation in assistance programs, or other source categorical eligibility programs. Collateral contacts include employers, social service agencies, migrant workers agencies, and religious or civic organizations. The verifying official must give the household the opportunity to designate the collateral contact. However, the verifying official may select a collateral contact if the household fails to designate a collateral contact or designates a contact that is unacceptable to the verifying official. In either case, no contact may be made without first notifying the household and obtaining its consent. A household's eligibility may be confirmed using information maintained by other government agencies to which the state agency, SFA, or school has legal access. These records are not considered collateral contacts. Although program regulations do not require SFAs to notify households of selection when verification is made through agency records, such agencies may have their own notification requirements. Households may provide pay stubs with income from employment. If a weekly pay stub is representative of what the household normally receives each week, one pay stub is sufficient. If the household submits a pay stub including overtime, the determining official should work with the household to determine whether the overtime for the month being verified is representative of overtime received in other months. If overtime is a one-time or sporadic source of income, income should be calculated based on the regular monthly income without overtime. If a household is selected for verification and the household's application indicates zero income, the SFA must request an explanation of how living expenses are met and may request additional written documentation or collateral contacts. The collateral contact may be asked to document the duration and type of assistance provided to the household. The SFA must make at least one attempt to contact the household when the household does not adequately respond to the request for verification. Non-response includes no response and incomplete or ambiguous responses that do not permit the SFA to resolve a child's eligibility for free and reduced price meals. The required follow-up attempt may be in writing, mail or email, or by telephone or text message. The SFA must document contact was attempted. Additionally, the SFA must ensure limited English proficiency or LEP households are provided adequate language assistance and understand the need to respond to the verification request. The household must be informed that failure to provide adequate written evidence or failure to designate an adequate collateral contact will result in termination of benefits. Attempt to obtain the missing written evidence or collateral contact information and contact the household to complete the verification process if the collateral contact is unwilling or unable to provide the requested information. Remember, the deadline for completing verification is November 15th. If you request and receive an extension for the verification process, you must be complete by December 15th. After follow-up, if the household responds and provides all needed evidence, verification is considered complete. As appropriate, the SFA would complete verification by informing the household there is no change in benefits, notifying the household its benefits will be increased, or sending notice of adverse action. Only one follow-up is required. SFAs are encouraged but not required to conduct additional follow-up communication if a household fails to provide adequate documentation after the first follow-up required. This slide covers when verification is considered complete. 1. The household submits either adequate written evidence or collateral contact with justification of income or categorical eligibility. 2. The household submits either adequate written evidence or collateral contact justification of income indicating the children should receive either a greater or lesser level of benefits. Verification is considered complete for this household when the household is notified its benefits will be increased or decreased. If benefits are decreased, a notice of adverse action must be sent before verification is considered complete. Scenario 3, the household indicates verbally or in writing that it no longer wishes to receive free or reduced price benefits. Verification is considered complete when the notice of adverse action is sent. In the last scenario, the application provided case numbers. It is determined that no household member is receiving benefits from an assistance program. Verification is considered complete when the notice of adverse action is sent. If benefits are decreased, a notice of adverse action must be sent before verification is considered complete. The notification document may be found on the Alabama Achieves website with the household letters for this school year. If the household does not respond by November 15th, a notice of adverse action letter is sent to the household. The household may reply by completing a new free and reduced meal application letter. The household must provide sources of information to confirm current income or participation in a categorically eligible program. The SFA may request an extension up to December 15th to complete verification due to natural disaster, civil disorder, strike, or other circumstances preventing the SFA from a timely completion of verification activities. This request must be submitted in writing to the state agency director. Any request for an extension beyond December 15th must be submitted by the state agency to the USDA FNS for approval.
My name is Lori Ferguson. I'm an education specialist with the Child Nutrition School Program section. I will go through the steps to complete the verification report. All districts, including CEP and Provision 2 districts, charter schools, RCCIs, both public and private schools, must submit the report via the ALSDE link online application. The process is very easy for SFAs that do not actually participate in verification or applications. They only complete sections 1 through 3 of the summary. To access the online verification report, follow these steps. The SFA will log in to the ALSDE's link CNP online application, select application, then select verification report, select modify for program year 2025-26, and the verification report page will open. This slide shows a screenshot of the location of the verification report in the online application. This slide shows a screenshot choosing the correct year for the verification report. Click Modify to begin. The next slide will pertain to the verification summary for RCCIs, 100% CEP SFAs, and SFAs operating Provision 2. The verification report is very easy for RCCIs and CEP Provision 2 districts. It is recommended a calendar alert be set for the last operating day of October. On the last operating day of October, these SFAs will input information in the requested fields and submit the online verification report, since they do not have to verify applications. Again, if you're an RCCI Provision 2 or CEP full district, meaning all schools are CEP, then be sure the box is checked in 3-1. Once the data from the last operating day of October is entered into the verification report, these SFAs should submit the information. Now we will discuss the verification report for SFAs who have to verify applications. The verification report has multiple parts. On the first operating day of October, you will need to complete section 4 and 5 of the verification report. On the last operating day of October, you will need to go back and complete sections 1 through 4B. I want to remind you all to save often while you are working in the verification report. The system will time out quickly and you could lose information you enter. To save, you will scroll to the bottom of the page and the save button is red. If you save while you are working on the report, errors and warnings could show up if sections are not completed yet. Click Edit to correct the errors, correct any errors, and save the verification report again. If there are no errors, click Finish and save again. Only the cells applicable to the SFA will be activated and editable. The cells will have a white background and solid border. Cells grayed out are not applicable and are inactive. It is very important to validate the SFA's DC numbers and make sure they are consistent with AIM and PowerSchool. Complete section 1 using numbers from the last operating day of October. The first section of the report is where you will record the number of sites and students. In section 1, column A, report the total number of schools within your program that participate in the NSLP or SBP. In section 1, column B, report the total number of students enrolled at these sites as of the last operating day in October. If you operate a residential child care institution, otherwise known as an RCCI, report the number of day students and non-day or residential students separately. In section 1.2a, report the number of day students, and in 1.2b, report the number of non-day students. Please note, set a calendar reminder for the last operating day of October. The number of students enrolled in the SFA will need to be pulled at the end of the last operating day of October from AIM and PowerSchool. Private and RCCI SFA should pull the information from their enrollment. Now let's move on to Section 2 of the report. You will complete this section if your program is participating in a provision. If your program is not participating in a provision, you will leave this section blank and proceed to Section 3 of the verification report. If your program operates provision 2 or 3, first indicate in 2-1 or 2-2 if you are in a base year or non-base year. In column A, list the number of sites participating in the provision. In column B, list the number of students that are enrolled at that site or sites as of the last operating day in October. If your program is in a non-base year, multiply the most recent base year free percentage by the enrollment reported in 2-2 to determine the number to report in 2-2A, column B. Multiply the most recent base year reduced price percentage by the enrollment reported in 2-2 to determine the number to report in 2-2B, column B. If you are participating in the Community Eligibility Provision, also known as CEP, report the number of sites and the number of students in Section 2-3. If you are participating in Provision 1, report the number of sites and the number of students in Sections 2-4. If you are participating in Provision 1, 2, or 3 for NSLP only or SBP only, report the number of sites in Section 2-5, column A, and the number of students attending these sites in column B. Also note, please set a calendar reminder for the last operating day of October. The number of students enrolled in the SFA will need to be pulled at the end of the last operating day of October from AIM and PowerSchool. Private and RCCI SFA should pull the information from their enrollment. The next section of the verification report is Section 3. In this section, you will report the number of students directly certified for free meals. If your program is operating a provision at all sites or is an RCCI with no day students, select the box next to 3-1 and proceed to Section 4. If you are not one of these exempt sites, you must indicate the number of students your SFA directly certified through SNAP or a county direct certification list as of the last operating day in October. On line 3-2, report only the students certified through SNAP. Do not include students certified with SNAP through the letter method or on an application. On line 3-3, report students directly certified through other programs. Include those directly certified through temporary assistance for needy families, food distribution program on Indian Reservation, Medicaid free only. Please note, do not include Medicaid reduced, and those documented as homeless, migrant, runaway, foster, Head Start, pre-K, Even Start, or non-applicant but approved by local officials. Do not include SNAP students already reported in 3-2. In Section 3-4, students directly certified categorically free eligible through SNAP letter method include students certified for free meals through the family providing a letter from the SNAP agency. The letter method of direct certification is rarely used. In most cases, this field will be left blank. As a reminder, all NSLP and SBP agencies must conduct direct certification at a minimum of 3 times a year. There is one exception to this requirement, being RCCIs without day students and agencies participating in a provision. All other program operators are required to conduct direct certification matches at least 3 times annually. Please note, set a calendar reminder for the last operating day of October. The number of students enrolled in the SFA will need to be pulled at the end of the last operating day of October from AIM and PowerSchool. Private and RCCI SFAs should pull the information from their enrollment. Now let's move on to Section 4. You will complete Section 4 on October the 1st. In Section 4, you will report the students approved for free and reduced price meals through the submission of an eligible household meal application. In Section 4-1, report the number of applications and students categorically eligible for free meals. These are the meal applications that are identified by a case number for SNAP, TANF, or FDIPR. In Section 4-2, report the number of applications and students eligible for free meals based on income. That is, the household income qualifies for the student for free meals based on the most recent eligibility scale issued by USDA. In Section 4-3, report the number of applications and students eligible for reduced price meals based on income. This occurs when the household's income qualifies the student for reduced price meals based on the most recent eligibility scale issued by USDA. Please note that you must report the number of applications as of October the 1st, and the number of students you report must be as of the last operating day in October. The USDA requires agencies to report the total number of applications and the total number of students in each category. In most cases, the number of students listed will be greater than the number of applications reported, as more than one student can be listed on a household meal application. If this is not the case, make sure that you are confirming that your counts are entered correctly. The last section of the verification report is Section 5. In this section, you will report the steps taken to complete the verification activities as well as the results of the verification process. If your agency is exempt from completing the verification process, or all of the sites in your agency are provision schools in a non-base year, check the box in Section 5-1. When this box is selected, your program is exempt from completing the rest of the Section 5, and you can submit your verification report. If your program is not an RCCI or operating a provision in a non-base year, you must complete Section 5. In Section 5-2, indicate if verification activities were completed on time. As a reminder, the verification activities must be completed by November the 15th of each year. In section 5.3, indicate which sample size you are using. How sample size is determined was covered earlier in this presentation. In section 5.4, report the number of error-prone applications your district received. As a reminder, error-prone applications are applications that qualify for free and reduced price meals within $100 below the monthly income eligibility scale threshold and within $1,200 below the annual eligibility scale threshold. In section 5.5, report the number of applications selected for verification based on the sample size indicated. As a best practice, always double check your sample size based on the numbers indicated. In section 4, column A, if you are using the standard method, the 3% sample size will be calculated from the total meal applications entered in section 4. In section 5.6, report if direct verification was conducted. Direct verification is the process in which verification is conducted by confirming a categorical application with records from public agencies. For example, if the household indicated on their meal application that they received SNAP benefits and the district contacted their local SNAP office to verify that the household member indicated on the meal application in fact received SNAP assistance, the district conducted direct verification. If this process was conducted, report the number of applications directly verified in sections 5.7, column A, and the number of students listed on the meal application or applications in section 5.7, column B. If direct verification was not conducted, check the box in section 5-6 and proceed to section 5-8. As a reminder, direct verification is an optional method of verifying a categorical meal application and is typically not conducted. In section 5.8, report the results of the district's verification activities. First, you will report how many meal applications were verified in each category based on initial certification of the meal applications. A best practice would be to organize your meal applications into 3 groups. One group should include meal applications that were approved as free categorical. The second group should include meal applications approved as free income. The third group should include meal applications approved as reduced price by income. This should make it easier to complete this section. Next, you will need to identify the status of each meal application after verification was conducted. You will report if the application status stayed the same, changed to either reduced price or paid, or if the household did not respond and the status was changed to paid. Being able to identify this information prior to completing the chart in section 5.8 will be very helpful. Now that you have identified these 2 key pieces of information, you can complete section 5.8. At the top of each column, you will see a section for each of the 3 ways a meal application can be certified. Within these columns are subcolumns A and B. Like in previous sections of the verification report, Column A is for the number of meal applications, and column B is for the number of students on each meal application. Also, take note of the headings to the left of each row labeled 1 through 4, which identify one of the 4 outcomes a program operator could have after verifying a meal application. Make sure that you are reporting each application in the correct row and column. Verification for calls is when you receive an application that is questionable and therefore subject to further review. In these cases, you would conduct verification for calls. If your program verified any additional applications for calls beyond the required sample size, please indicate the number of meal applications verified in section VC1. Make sure that the outcome of the applications selected for verification for calls are also reported in section 5.8 along with the other applications that were verified. Once all of the fields have been completed and is free of errors, you can submit your verification report to ALSDE for review. ALSDE will then review the verification report for accuracy and contact you to obtain clarification and make revisions to the report as needed. Once ALSDE has approved the report, it will be submitted to the USDA for further review. If additional clarification is needed, the state agency will contact you. Remember, if your district participates in either the NSLP or SBP, you must submit the annual verification report by November 15th of each year. Make sure to mark your calendar with this important date. Unlike the previous online agreement, there is no tracking for individual applications on the LINC platform. ALSDE has a document that can be used for tracking by sponsors verifying applications. Take note, this form will be required at administrative review for all sponsors verifying application. This document was sent with the verification webinar and can also be found with other verification resources on Break for a Plate. This is for systems who are responsible for completing a second review of applications. This is also known as independent review. In the application list, select second review of applications, select the current school year. The form will open. Complete all applicable blocks that are fillable and click Save. Here is the QR code you may use to obtain a training certificate verifying completion of the verification webinar. Also included is the professional learning code for training tracking purposes. If you have any questions, please submit those to cmpnslp@alsde.edu or by calling 334-694-4657.